The man, yes, said to kill the bear barehanded so the people won't forget it. Getting money for our legal to drink. I care what a broke nigga think.
Just like the pack of Lewis.
Look, everything I do so cold. I can do this, both eyes closed. Too short, I stay on my toes. About that guap boy, anything goes. Help the bear if we outside. Help the bear if we outside. Still tipping, baby, nothing changed. I'm still grinding over here, yeah. Still sliding through my own lane. Shorty, nothing funny over here. Dallas rain everywhere around me. Dream to get money. Made it through the storm, living sunny. Dreams came true, now we eating. I got more dreams to chase, gotta reach them. Trying to put a team together like the Hunger Games. Everybody grinding because we all came from hunger.
That's right. Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta, holding it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people? Today, coming with another wonderful episode of, that's right, movie reviews. It's been a minute since I saw a movie that I wanted to talk about, so I'm gonna talk about this one. But I'm not by myself. All right, before we get started, before I tell you to like the video, before I tell you to dislike the video, before I tell you to like the video again after you've done disliked it, before I tell you to subscribe, before I tell you to consider my Patreon, I'm gonna tell you that there's a gentleman right over here, all right? He's known as the cinematic sorcerer. I give to you Solar Gray.
Hey everybody, how's it going out there? This is Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower with my very good friend right here. We're talking about not just nerd culture, all right? Not just nerd, not just sci-fi, not just fantasy. We are talking about the Foundation, not the Foundation series. That's a different podcast for a different time. But we are talking about one of the biggest science fiction staples. And again, when you know this story, I'm gonna say this out there. There are people that like Lord of the Rings. There are people that like Star Wars. There's another group. There's another group out there, and we are talking about Warner Brothers,
Harry Potter. No, just
this great. So yeah, and you guys can always find me at twitch.tv/BID_P Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. on the dark side of the room, where we talk about gaming, nerd culture, and life, and all of the important things that we wish we would have learned in high school. But we do it from the standpoint of, well, nerd stuff and the life that we actually live. So thank you for having me on the show, man. Let me go.
Hey, thank you for having me on the show on your side. I do want to give a special shout out to, I know there's people up in the chat. Big shout out to everyone in the chat. Big shout out to, of course, as always, the supporters of the channel. But I want to give a big shout out to Jess and King, because Jess and King always be like, where's Solar at? So I wanted to give a special shout out to her. Of course,
well, thank you very much, Jess.
Like, share the video, all that good stuff. Subscribe, because we're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna throw it to Solar first, since he's the guest / not guest. But I'm gonna throw it to Solar first.
With
when it comes
many crossovers as we do, we might have to start paying each other. I don't know how that's going.
It's like give you the money and then the money just comes right back.
Yeah, like, okay. Exactly.
But how did you get into Dune? Because everybody has like their different story. So before we get to this movie, there's a little history behind Dune in general.
Okay, so real talk. Way back. All right, set the Wayback Machine
All
for
right.
1987. All right.
Ooh.
In 1987, again, as you guys know, I grew up in Los Angeles, and on Channel 5 in 1987, they had this they had this thing where every weekend they would play movies. And I'm
Okay.
like, I grew up broke. Okay, I grew up poor, but on the broke side of poor. So, it was one of those things that, but I saw on Channel 5 one Sunday afternoon this weird movie with a bunch of sand and people running around in these cool black suits. And then there was this great big worm, and I'm like, what am I looking at here? And I asked my mom, and she's like, I don't know. Why don't you let me sleep? And I went back to school that next day, and I'm like, I saw this thing on TV with worms and spice, like, some people looking around for lorries. And my teacher told me that the name of the book was Dune and that it was in the school library. And I went to the school library and I checked out this doorstop, this like 15-pound book. And
I've heard the book is quite large.
It is about 1,100 pages. And
Wow.
I tore into that thing. And I'm going, what's all these funny words? What do they mean? Houses? Like, are the houses? Oh, the people that live in the houses? Oh, no. And it was like the foundation of what really solidified me into hard sci-fi world building and, believe it or not, medieval heraldry. So that was one of the really big ways I got into it. Now, how did you get into it?
Okay, so there's a cool gentleman by the name of Brandon Easton, and I met Brandon early on when I moved to LA. I believe he was at like an event or something, and I met him through someone else or whatever. But we had kind of like talked on kind of like a personal level a few times, and he had mentioned the movie Dune like numerous times. And I remember one time we were talking, and he asked me had I ever seen Dune, and I was like, well, no, I've seen like pictures of it, like I know what it is, but I've never seen it before. And he was like, look, you got to see it today. We were at like LA Comic-Con or something like that. And he was like, look, go home, download it from somewhere, watch it. You got to see it, right? So I was like, okay, Brandon Easton's the dope writer. If there's a story that he's into, I'm like, hey, it's probably good. So I went home, I checked out Dune, and I remember I called him the next day, and I was like, hey man, this movie is sweet. Why didn't they ever do anything else with it? And he was like, they did.
Oh, hang on here. That's better. All right.
He was like, they did. Don't watch it. So I was like, okay, cool, no problem. But I always thought that was like a cool, the way they set up the mythology, the world, the politics within the world and stuff, and like the caste system or whatever. I just thought it was like just interesting. That's the best word I can think of. Like I just wanted to know more. I wanted to see more. But the book was intimidating because I was like, hey, that book is kind of big, and I don't know if I want. I don't know if I like it that much.
6 pounds carrying that thing around in elementary school.
I was like, I don't know if I like this that much, but I do remember when they said that they were going to remake it and they were going to have the director Denis Villeneuve on it, and I was like, hey, I like his movies. This might be cool. Because of course the movie had been in flux for a while. Like it had a director, didn't have a director. They were going to do it. They decided not to do it, blah, blah, blah. And when they picked him, I was like, you know what? This might be all right. Like this might be good. This might be what I've been waiting for. Because me seeing Dune for the first time in like 2015 and still thinking, hey, this is cool. Why didn't they do anything else? So it's one of those things where I was overjoyed to hear who was directing it. Then when they started casting it, I thought it was cool.
Mhm.
So I was already on board from the original movie, and then the announcement in like, when did they announce him as the director? I don't know, like 2014, 16, something. I can't remember how long ago it was. I know it was a while ago that they announced him as the director, but whenever they did, I was like, hey, this thing has some legs. And shouts out to Hitflix and Jenna James that rolled through in the chat. Big shouts to y'all. But yeah, so that's kind of my history on it. That's where I got into it. I thought it was like cool, grungy, weird, and it set up this world that I wanted to know more about. Like I want to see the other planets. I want to see the Emperor. I want to see like all these things, like the other houses and stuff. Like I want to see these things because the way it's laid out is just so, there's so much tea in it. Like you want to watch, like you want to watch it because you're like, oh, you even see in the new movie, you're like, whoa, it's Trouble in Paradise. So I liked it. So transferring to this movie, you got to watch it. I got to watch it. Let me ask for, I guess, maybe initial impressions. Like when the movie ended, did you feel good or bad?
Okay. I'm gonna just answer your question because I got words. When the movie ended, I will say that I was relieved. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that's not exactly the whole thing.
Okay.
How spoilery are we getting into?
This is full spoiler. So also,
okay,
guys, if you're watching this, it says in the title that's a spoiler, so we're not lying. It's spoilers now. So if you have not seen this movie, even though like you can kind of see it at home, so it's not the same. Like it's not, you can see it at home, so it's like it's not the same as like a movie that's only in the theater.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna say about this is, I was relieved because what they didn't tell you and what they don't tell you on the commercial is this is part 1.
Yeah.
Okay? This is it's funny because taking this to something we usually talk about, right? Which is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. When Infinity War came out, I know somebody that got an advanced screening, and I just asked them one question, which was, does this hold up as a singular movie? And they said, oh, look, chips. And that was it. I was not expecting the ending of Marvel's Infinity War. And with this one, I was mad. I was mad when I saw Marvel Infinity War because, 10 years, 17 movies, that was a lot. Yeah. With this, in the Dune circles, with all of us Doonies, there has been this mythological cut of Dune. That David Lynch's Dune, like there's a regular cut, and then there's the director's cut at 2.5 hours. But there's the super secret, you have to give David Lynch a foot rub cut that's 6.5 hours long, and it doesn't leave anything out. And I'm like, yeah, keep talking, whatever. And sure enough, having thought about reading the book, I'm like, when I first heard that Dune was coming out, I'm like, oh, tell me it's a TV show, especially post Game of Thrones.
Okay, makes sense.
I'm like, this series. I'm talking the 6 books that are in the series that are densely packed with information, cannot be done in one film. It just cannot. The first movie or the first book cannot be done in a film. That is literally 2 seasons of prestige television circa Game of Thrones. Okay. So when it ended, I was relieved because where it ended was not a bad spot. In truth, it probably, story-wise, it could have ended about a half hour earlier, but it ended. And so where it ended, I'm cool. How it ended, I could have used a little more, because I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay, they're fading to black. It feels about 2.5 hours, but it didn't feel like an ending. You know what I mean? Yeah. Kind of like the end of The Sopranos, where it just stopped.
But knowing that it said 2.5. I mean, knowing that it said part 1, I guess it makes sense. It's kind of like, it's kind of like, ding, turn the page. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, you're going way back for that.
Shouts the Silhouetted Animator said the first book has been divided into 2 parts, but they still cut some stuff out of this one. Probably should have been an HBO series. Hitflix says there's a theatrical version and a longer version of the original Dune film, but I'm not sure if David Lynch. I'm not sure if it's a David Lynch cut. This movie, I was surprised to see the part 1 because I was wondering how many parts there were going to be because I know the book is big. When this movie ended, I was like, oh, whoa, that's it? Like, I was like, no, wait. Like, because see, I watched the movie in 2 parts because 2.5 hours, it's a lot when you got a job and you try to do this and you got a little kid and stuff. So I was just like, look,
I'm with that.
I'm going to cut this in half. So
yeah,
when the movie ended, I was like getting into it. I was like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? He had to do what he had to do, but he went past the threshold. He, I guess you could say he finally, tasted first blood or something like that. And I was like, all right, cool. Here we go. And it was like, goodbye.
It was like, and we'll see you next time, and it's like, oh, wait, hold up. Hold up. Like, no, I mean, I get it. I totally get it. Like I said,
it's a good thing because I wanted more. It wasn't like I was mad because I didn't like what I saw, but it was a good thing because I was sitting there saying, hey, I'm not finished watching this yet. I'm not finished.
Yeah, I definitely get that. It literally flowed a lot like a TV show. With that, wait a second, they're rolling credits. Like, all right, part 2 better be out next week. You don't leave us dangling on some kind of thing. Like that's it. Like that's where you're stopping it. Now here's my question: which do you want to hear from first, the film aficionado or the sci-fi geek? That's the question.
Let's go with the aficionado first. Let's go because we might as well go in and get that stuff out of the way. Let's go in and talk about the cinematography and the directing and the acting and all that stuff and the set design. Let's go and get that out of here. Get that out of the way.
Yeah. No lie, like I gotta split my rating on this movie because as cinema, from the cinema geek side of me, this movie is a full house. It is all the way up there. All right. It's very rare that I see something on a streaming service where I go, you know what? I think I want to go to the movies and watch this because this movie is gorgeous.
This is the first one I thought about that on. This is the very first one. I was like, you know what? Sans COVID, this would have been one for the theater.
Bruh.
Like, now at the same time, this wouldn't have been one for that old rinky-dink, Metroplex theater. No, I don't want your little kids running around, spilling stuff on me and stuff. People talking, got their cell phone out. No, this is one for like Alamo Draft House or like ArcLight or something. Rest in peace. You know what I'm saying?
Or your standard movie theater at 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday when everybody.
When nobody's there. Yeah.
I mean, I might watch this movie again depending on if my girl is around, because I'm gonna have to watch this in the dark, like all up on the screen, just to get that kind of experience like I did when I was a kid, because this movie is stunning. Oh my God, it looks good.
This might be the first movie where they've done kind of a update / reboot / remake, whatever, where I wasn't mad at any of the choices as far as like design, costuming.
You know where the money went with this.
Nothing like I wasn't mad at any of like the ships. There was nothing that was like, why'd they do it like that? And like push my push my glasses back up. Why'd they do it like that? But
yeah, exactly.
Everything looks so beautiful. And then I already like the way Denis Villeneuve shoots stuff. So or maybe it might be a cinematographer, or maybe both of them together. But the way they shoot stuff, the way they hold on shots, the way they do that like slow zoom in kind of thing when they like move, and it's like building that weird tension where you're like, is something gonna happen? Like all of that works together so extremely well. And I was like, I know on my little baby 55-inch TV. The reason I say baby is because I know there's people out there with the 80-inch OLED now. You know what I'm saying? So on my little baby 55-inch TV, I know if I had my full setup like I wanted, I'd be like, this is pure visual candy.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
But yes, I mean, it looked beautiful, seriously, and it was directed well.
I did have one problem with the sound design. My mentor did a film review of this because, you know, he's a real critic, so he gets all the advanced screenings.
He's a real critic.
And
he is not a real critic.
And he brought up something that did stick out to me that I got a little sick of, which is every time there's a movie in the desert, you got some woman from somewhere trilling just all the time. You know, and I'm just like, and I'm like, man,
come on, man. You can't do that. Everybody, there's certain rules. Like if everybody does it, I kind of like cancel it out. But yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing because it was just like back in 2008 around The Dark Knight where everything was.
Yeah, it's like, all right, hold on, hold the horns, hold the horns now.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's just like the desert thing. Like when you go see a superhero movie, there's going to be a big garbage ring in the sky. If you can accept that trope, that's cool. When House Atreides brought out the bagpipes, I'm like, you know what? The most annoying things go through history. So, all right, you know what? I can buy that in the far, 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 far future, somebody gonna have bagpipes. Somebody's gonna have it. All right, fine. Fortunately, I enjoy bagpipe music because I'm just that odd. But I get people going, wait, ain't this like in the future? Ain't that another? Why are they bringing the bagpipes?
Because you gotta keep the history of like the old school bagpiping.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like, you know, House Harkonnen's gonna be pulling out a ukulele or something. But yeah, so like the film geek in me is just like, well done. Okay. I am going to own this movie and I am periodically going to put it on mute and I'm going to just let it ride.
Let it play. Yeah.
Yes. When I'm building sci-fi props or when I'm planning for my Esper Genesis game or something, I'm gonna just put it on. There were a lot of comparisons to Rogue One with this, and I'm like, nah, son, nah. Rogue One is my favorite of the new Star Wars movies. Don't get me wrong. But scope and scale of this rendition of Dune is just like, nah.
As a Star Wars fan, and I do enjoy Rogue One, I'm gonna have to say no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to give that a full no. Because
say not no, but heck no. Okay.
Because the characterization, and I guess this will get into like kind of like how the characters were built. The characterization in this movie leaned hard on who these people were, as well as who these groups of people were. Rogue One, I don't think did anything for the individual characters, but I do think they did a good job of characterizing what the rebels and the Empire were at that time. But as far as who the rebels were, like the individual rebels, I didn't care. I've also never been a fan of what is it, Felicity? What's the girl's name?
Huffman or something.
The girl that played Jen Erso.
Yeah,
I've never been sold on her. I thought Nicole Bahari should have played that role, and I'ma still feel that way. I feel like if she played that role, that movie would have been like 2, 3, 4, 5 times better.
Okay.
But like she just always has like the weird aloof look on her face. Like she has like a dumb look on her face in a lot of the movie, and I'm like,
Well,
I
it's
just.
funny that
And then
you
when she gives
mentioned
like that fake rousing speech, I'm like, I
yeah.
ain't feeling you, boo. I know we supposed to believe you, but I don't believe you though.
It's funny that you mentioned that dumb look on the face because that brings me to the second part
All right.
of Dumb Geek in me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This movie has such a powerhouse cast. And I mean, whenever I see Javier Bardem, I'm in. Um, and and again, Skarsgård, Stellan Skarsgård, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, when I found out that he was playing Vladimir Harkonnen, I'm like, all right, I could see it, but let's see what they do with him. And but if I had a redheaded British lady with me right now, I would literally be going, well, it's time for you to say it because Timothy Chalamet in this movie was the weakest link for me. He really was.
Do you
I
think he was supposed to be though?
well, here's the thing. There's just a little bit of the Dune geek coming in.
Okay.
With David Lynch's version and the sci-fi original, original
Not
series
sci-fi original movie though.
2001. They did one thing that was messed up with Paul Atreides that this movie got right, which is Paul Atreides, the main character of Dune, is supposed to be a kid. And Timothy Chalamet was a good casting call. The books describe him as a young man, but who's old for his years and who is very detached and separated from a lot of things. However,
Okay.
the way that Chalamet was directed, I'm like, okay, you could kick up emoting just a notch, you know, but like just a notch because he didn't feel like a character that I wanted to get behind. You get what I mean?
Okay.
Oscar Isaac killed as Leto Atreides. He killed it. And even Rebecca Ferguson, although I am partial to the woman who played Lady Jessica and David Lynch, but Rebecca Ferguson really, really carried the role of Lady Jessica. But Paul, I wasn't feeling it. I really wasn't feeling it. Like I spent half of the movie whenever he was on screen going, do something.
Well, see, I think the way it hit me was that this is someone who was always in their head about who they were supposed to be. And then when he has that breakdown about like, hey, you made me a freak. Then I'm like, so now all this emotion done bubbled up because I mean, you know, Papa dead, people shooting and blowing up stuff. You can't hold it in no more. But that's kind of how it hit me. Like, this is just someone who's always in their head about why they exist, if they should exist, what they're supposed to do, you know, what's dad want, what's mama want, what's these weird ladies with black robes want, you know. So that's kind of how it hit me. I felt like he was someone who wasn't really feeling like he could be himself yet. But I get you on that because he was very passive. He was kind of like letting life happen to him. But the reason I thought that was more because he was more insecure about his position in life, I guess.
Sort of. He is a very introverted character. And this is one of the things that makes Dune difficult to do as a film because 90% of the entire book series happens in thought bubbles. The David Lynch version covered it with whispers, you know, the tooth, I must not fear, fierce mind killer. I'm whispering the next lines to let the audience know it's what I'm thinking, you know. And I get that Paul is an introvert in the book, okay? But this is the movie. And it's called a movie because things are supposed to move. And the fact of the matter,
he caught the little wasp or whatever. He was like,
oh
he was
yeah,
like,
no.
He was like, not today, Satan.
Yeah, no, the hunter seeker scene showed how, like, that was the whole thing. It was either he went from 0 to amazing with nothing in between, except for being an insufferable teenager.
But aren't we all though? Like if we went back and looked at ourselves at like 16, we'd be like, you really think you know everything, don't you? Like,
I get it. I get it. And I saw way too many modern sensibilities of, here we have Paul Atreides, the picture of privilege, who's been told his whole life he's gonna be special. He's meant to be somebody, and now he's feeling himself until the world falls down around him. It was interesting with this cast though, because I'm seeing so much of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in it. I mean, we've got Professor Selvig, who's floating around somewhere while he's talking to Drax while we're waiting for Aquaman to have lunch with Thanos.
But the trip is, in all actuality, even with the I know they've been running the ads with like this is like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, but I was like, well, actually, isn't Dune like not even like them? Dune is its own thing. Like Dune can stand on its own. Like Dune came out back then. It's not like Dune came out in like 99.
Well, no, Dune came out in 1963. So
I'm like, why? I'm like, I don't know.
It was
Dune can stand on its own. You don't have to be like, it's like Star Wars. It's like, no, it's like Dune. Give Dune his props.
People need something to compare stuff to. And truth, most science fiction post Dune, literally, took some. Okay. Luke Skywalker was heavily based on Paul Atreides.
Oh yeah. When I watched the 80s version, I was like, yo, there's Star Wars all over this thing. And then I was like, when did the book come out? And I was like, ooh.
Yep. I mean,
I was like, Mr. Lucas.
Yeah, no.
I was like, Mr. Lucas
or writer who has wanted to go sci-fi, like Game of Thrones is all over this with the clashing between houses, the heraldry, like most modern science fiction and a good amount of fiction has taken a little sip out of that Dune well. Just a little bit. You could see Dune all over the prequels with the economic stuff between the corporations and the other stuff. Now, for the sci-fi geek in me, since we're talking about what Dune is, I gotta say, it's impossible to do this movie. It is really impossible to do this movie without leaving anything out. Like most books, you can't do without leaving something out because the mediums are different. Okay. I was having a hard time not comparing this to David Lynch's Dune because it's practically a shot-for-shot remake in the sense of they cut out most of the same stuff. I'm like, okay, we've got that point. We've got I did notice that they cut Sting's character and shoved him into what's his name? Drax. Shoved him into Drax's character. Like what he was doing was split up between two characters in the books and in the initial movie. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. Primarily because in the books, the character that he plays is an idiot. Primarily because Vladimir Harkonnen spent all of his attention on the other cousin who was played by Sting because of psychological reasons having to do with a lot of adult themes. The tough part about this though is I love Dune. I love it. And there's a lot of folks who are just hopping on the sandworm because they haven't had a whole lot of exposure to it that are complaining about the white savior narrative and all that jazz. But here's the thing, and this is where
it's definitely there, but we got to also remember, like don't get me wrong, I saw it, and then I also saw when the black one. All right, I know we're on the cinema stuff, but when the black woman was like, "I'm gonna go this way," I was like, I bet she's gonna sacrifice herself for you. You want to know why? Because she's black. And I was just like, I was like, here we go. And then, the only other brother, there were two brothers. The first brother was smooth.
One of them came out. just
smooth
clean,
linen.
clean. He's like,
So the
I
first
got
brother
this
ain't the first
paperwork to
brother
sign.
cool.
You gonna sign this? Cool. All
First
right,
brother
I'm
ain't
out.
getting no trouble. But
Yeah,
then the
he's like,
second
oh,
brother, I
got the
was like,
check.
man, we
You
know he
know,
dead, right? Like we
but
all know he dead.
now, here's the thing though. All right. One, Dune comes off as the white savior narrative at the beginning. However, Dune, the entire story of the book series, has always been two things. One, a cautionary tale about a charismatic leader. And second, it is a step-by-step deconstruction and critique of colonialism. Okay. You haven't read the books, but I can let you know the three main books, Dune, Children of Dune, God Emperor Dune, it don't end well. Paul winning is bad. And when Javier Bardem's character came out and he was talking to Duke Leto, and Leto's like, we want to go along with your people. And he's like, here's my price. Go away. Stay away from us. Stay away from my land. You know, and
but I do like the fact that Leto was like, well, look, I honestly, I can't, you know what I'm saying? Because I got people above me, but check it. Look, I'm gonna do my best to stay up out your way, let y'all live your life, leave y'all alone. Because I know, I know how Harkonnen get down. You know what I'm saying? We ain't them.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, you know, I'm gonna leave you alone as best as I can, but I gotta ask my manager. I get it. But again, like the film Starship Troopers was a critique of fascism, and it was put out there to show the audience how easy it is to become like that. Dune, we're sitting up and we're like, oh yeah, you get him, Paul, you get and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we're talking colonizers who are trying to get the indigenous people to team up with them, take down, and then take over the empire. Okay. And again, it doesn't end well. The whole point of the series, and this is something that I like that this version of the book, this version of the movie did very well, was it showed that there are no good guys in this. You know, Leto made it very clear. I was sent here to take over the place and turn it into my area. That is the definition of colonization. But then you got the emperor that pretty much said, yeah, a lot of people are liking House Atreides, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna send him to
I don't want anyone to have any perceived power, at least any power over what I have.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The only thing is, and I mean, I haven't read the book. I haven't read the books. I don't know. But I'll just say this. If you take your best shot and you miss, when the other houses find out that you missed, your power is probably going to be gone. Or they probably going to be looking at you like a sucker, like, Dad, you did all that and you still didn't get them? They're going to be like, yo, Atreides is the realest. But I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. But I just know in the real world, like if this happened in school or on the street, if you used all your resources to try to get rid of somebody and they got back up like, whew, well, I made it. People gonna be like, yo, this dude is real. Like
again, I thought we were talking Dune, not John Wick.
All right, real quick, I got a comment from Veli Superb. I hope I didn't screw up your name. I apologize. Says Dune lacks soul. It's simultaneously brilliant and lacking. The movie is about a huge world, but it feels empty, as if just the houses and their armies exist in it. I did want to talk about that because I think I see where you're coming from. But from my perspective, I think that's the feeling that we're supposed to have is like, this system is vapid. Like, at least what I was getting is like, this system is vapid. Like, these people are just husks of, overconsumption and rage and greed and all, and kind of like showing, kind of like you said, a deconstruction of colonialism. Like, at least that's what I was getting from this world, is that like these houses live in breathe just to take. And they're really not any deeper than that. I mean, you have the Benny Jesuit that's like, oh, we're so special. And it's like, well, no, you're lying to these people and making up prophecies and kind of like manipulating. Like, I mean, yes, this dude has powers, but you're also kind of like manipulating them into believing something as well. It's not natural. There's something in the magic trick that you're doing. So you have all these people that just kind of exist to just like take and like use one another. So what at least where I get that, where I feel that emptiness is like, well, these people are empty. These people are like horrible, unfortunately.
Okay. So
at least that's how I felt about the characterization of these folks. Before we get to the geeky stuff.
Yeah, real talk. In response to Bailey Superb, I'm right there with you. I really am. This is, again, the film geek in me said this movie is stunning. Oh my God, I love looking at it. However, this movie spent so much time showing you the different planets, and they did it showing the scale and scope at the sacrifice of the plot. Okay. Dune as a story is deep political. We're talking deep. We've got the three houses, the Mentats. What else? Let's see. Yeah, we got the three houses. We got the Mentats. We've got the Bene Gesserits. We've got the Guild. And we've got the economic stuff that's coming down through all that jazz as well. Again, deep, thick stuff. And what we didn't get was a sense of any of that. Hang on, I want to make sure that my sound doesn't go all wonky. Yeah, we didn't get that sense of the thickness of the world and the deepness of what was there. And I found it really sad. I really did. Had they spent a lot of time, and I really mean that.
And see, I haven't read the book, so then you also have a different perspective on it.
Well, just comparing this to the David Lynch thing. The David Lynch movie, they had the voiceover from the Empress that explained the politics, what the spice is and why it's used. Okay. By this particular point in the movie, we should know about 6 things just based on the last film. 1, the spice is integral to intergalactic travel.
They did drop that. They honestly did drop that. They dropped that.
No, they dropped it, but they lampshaded it. They didn't talk about how the guild uses the spice to literally bend space. They fold space on top of each other and bring 2 locations together. And that didn't come out in the travel sequence, which was kind of sad for me. They didn't show much about House Harkonnen and how they ran Arrakis, Dune, Desert Planet, before Atreides got there. Okay, they didn't really show the type of place that it was. They definitely didn't show why Duke Leto and why House Atreides. Like, they didn't show his popularity or anything like that. It was just he's being given this planet. And they focused a little bit more on the Fremen, which I liked. Okay, you understood the Fremen lived there, and they essentially went indigenous native, saying, look, we got to live underground now because y'all done showed up. So they really focused on Arrakis, but they didn't focus on Arrakis in context with the rest of the world. And again, the rest of the world is really thick. And when you watch,
because they basically were like, Arrakis is the golden goose, and that's all you need to know. Now, I don't know, Denny, WB, I don't know, y'all might have like 4 other movies planned. I have no idea. So this might just be like, well, hey, this is your sprinkle and taste or whatever. But in this movie, they were like, basically, Arrakis is the golden goose. The Emperor doesn't like House Atreides. House Atreides ain't got money like that. So they're going to want to take this deal. I'm going to give it to him so I can crush him. That's this whole movie.
Yeah.
But then we don't know the Emperor either.
Exactly. We haven't seen the Emperor. And again, there was hardly anything on House Harkonnen. And
except
the thing
that they evil and they like nasty in general.
Well, they evil and they nasty, but there's more to them than that because they are politically savvy.
He about that dollar.
Got 7 lines in the whole movie. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't want him covered in boils, floating around everywhere, cackling like a crazy person.
Yo, man, there's something about the 80s that makes that great, though. There's something about the 80s that makes that movie like so weird and also awesome at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it was half David Lynch and half Frank Herbert. But the big thing is, like, that one line of when is a gift not a gift? You know, where Drax's character is coming up and he's like, but they're coming and there's this happening. He's like, nah, chill. I got
You're
this.
like, nah.
What?
He's like, we gonna be all right.
You know, and I'm kind of going, I mean, it's easy for me to think that Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones was based on Baron Harkonnen. Okay, because of the political savvy, the ruthlessness, the cheapness of life. Again, a lot of that stuff was let out. Like, why did Dr. Huey betray them? Well, the Harkonnens had his wife. Okay, cool. But the movie left out why that was such a big deal and why Huey was the best person in there. I mean, just overall thing, because the movie treats the conceit like you already know this.
Okay.
Because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, they're the Mentats who are essentially their version of a computer. And if you watch the movie again, you won't see very many computer readouts. You got scanners, but you don't have computers. There's no internet. What they have instead are the Mentats who use the spice to pump up their IQs, and they're doing immense calculations. And that was what, I forgot the actor's name, the black dude that was in the Purge, Purge Part 3.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah, but he was playing a Mentat, and the Mentats are essentially like, hey, I got this plan. Let me run it. Let me run this by you. This shouldn't work because this, and this. All right, cool. Okay. Dr. Huey is that entire cast is brainwashed to be loyal to the houses that they serve. So the entire thing of them taking his wife broke his conditioning because they took his wife to give him something way more important to focus on. Because Dr. Huey is supposed to be more loyal to House Atreides than Alfred is to Batman. Like, he doesn't have a choice. So the fact that they never suspected him is essentially like not expecting your car to run you off the road. It's that thick, you know? Okay. Which is also why he gave him a tooth and said, look, I'm sorry I did all this stuff. Let me make it up. You dead, but I'm gonna make sure that your son gets out of here. And that was like, again, this movie didn't do a whole lot to show that. That's what I mean. Like, they gave us scope and scale and amazing filmmaking at the sacrifice of the plot.
I get you. Now, question.
Yeah.
With all those things added in, what do we either cut, or do you think we should have just added runtime? I mean, your boy Scorsese does 3-hour movies. I mean, maybe we could have added another 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Honestly,
I mean,
the movie
Scorsese will hit you with 3 hours quick. So I mean, maybe
3 hours long, but it's not about cutting out as much as it is cutting down. Don't get me wrong. I love cinematography. It is one of my favorite things. From Tombstone to Lord of the Rings.
Wow, not Tombstone though. Shouts to Tombstone though.
Yeah, and to Dune. those sweeping shots of landscape to show you like this is how far they went. This is
Yeah.
what they gotta
And then
go over.
and then just to show like how large something is.
Yeah, I think that's great. But they took 30 seconds to show what only should have taken about 6 seconds per shot.
Okay.
If we had
I
cut
get
down
you.
some of that and added some more backstory and some more depth to the setting,
Okay.
it would have been cool. That is a big thing. Now, when it comes to the stuff that they did add, I'm not going to do a serious hot take because I love Jason Momoa, and I
All right.
honestly think Duncan was a great casting pick for him.
Okay.
Because he's essentially playing the same character that Patrick Stewart played in the old movie,
Yeah.
and they play the roles amazingly differently. And it was nice to see someone in the movie that had a personality. Most of the movie, you got a little bit of fire from the Fremen,
Yeah.
a tiny bit of fire from Lady Jessica, and Jason Momoa was just like, bruh, can we have you in the movie for a little bit longer? Because I hate the fact that he referred to Paul as my boy instead of my boy. But it's Jason Momoa. So if he's got to say, if he's got to put the possessive on any noun, it's going to be, yeah, my man.
Now hold on. Let Jason Momoa be Jason Momoa. All right,
Hey.
we're not trying to remake the first movie. All right?
No.
Let him live.
Now, I ain't saying that he should have been exactly like Patrick Stewart. I'm just saying he could cut down the, there's my boy. Look at my boy. How you doing, Paul, my boy?
But that's the guy he is.
I get
maybe
that.
Patrick Stewart's character was like that, but remember, he's also older. In that version, he's a much older man.
Well,
You know what I'm
but that juxtaposed
and a much
against
balder
Josh
man.
Brolin- well, that juxtaposed against Josh Brolin being the guy that's like, I don't like him. I hate him. I hate him. I hate shoes. I hate sand. I hate water. Why am I here?
I hate sand.
I hate everything.
It gets everywhere.
You know, and
I mean, it does get everywhere, but I mean, sand really does get everywhere.
It does. It really does. But yeah. So Josh Brolin playing the part of for the whole movie. I'm like, you know what? I buy it. I really buy it that that's the character, and that's a good place for him. But wow,
Okay, so how are we feeling then? Because when I look at this movie, when I take this movie in as a whole, I want to see more. The things that you're bringing up, and I've seen other people bring up, I think are valid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if they held them back because they know this is a part one. And if they did hold them back because this is part one, I wonder if that's to their detriment because of the way people feel about this film. I wonder if they're like, well, hey, let's hold this back because we're going to put this in part two and put this in part 3 or 4 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Did that hurt them? You know what I'm saying? Does this hurt them for trying to kind of focus on nothing but what happened on Arrakis and then maybe unfold that stuff later with like some revelations to Paul or whoever in the second film?
Now real talk on that one, I think that they held a lot of that stuff back for the first one because this movie, this 2.5 hours of
it's just to bring Dune back.
Amazing cinematography, amazing special effects, amazing costuming. Really felt like the first 2 episodes of Prestige TV. It was, let's seriously set up this world. Let us set up what it is that you're gonna be spending the next 9 hours in. But what I gotta say, as much as I hate to say it, is that Lord of the Rings did it better. Because no, I'm serious with the Fellowship of the Ring.
I disagree harshly, but I'm one of those people that like
that movie. You had
I'm one of those people that think that movie deserves a cut, like a real serious cut.
Well, it had a
Well,
couple.
all of them
But,
deserve one, but I
um,
know I'm in the minority. I think
well,
all of the Lord of the Rings films are way too long for what they do.
well, just
But
hear me out here. By the
but
end of the
I'll let that
Fellowship,
slide.
yeah, even the theatrical cut of the Fellowship, you got a sense of what the hobbits were fighting for because we spent some time in the Shire and we
Mhm.
saw what was in danger. We saw what the orcs were. We saw how the ring corrupts people. Um, we saw how big the mission was for all nine of these people and
Mhm.
how a couple of them didn't make it and they ended up having to split up, you
Yeah.
know? So we really got a sense of the scope of the world, the plot at hand, the factions that were involved on some degree, and we had a lot of understanding of what we were watching to the point where even though they were long as I'll know what,
Mhm.
we couldn't wait to see the next movies because we wanted to see the next movies, not because we felt like, okay, don't get me wrong, the first Fellowship of the Ring ended with a major lack of resolution, just like the novel did. But
Okay.
but if it had had an ending at all, any ending where they got rid of the ring, we would have been like, man, that was a cool movie. Um, where with this one looked good, but I don't think I'm alone in the fact that I want to see part two, like just as a film goer, putting all of my love for the IP aside. Um, I want to see the second half of the movie because I'm like, no, hold up. We got we didn't just get no resolution. Okay, this movie doesn't feel like it has a beginning, middle, and end, although it does. But we didn't get any major resolution. There's no point in this movie where we can cut the last 5 or 10 minutes or somewhere within that 5 or 10 or 30 minutes and
Mhm.
feel like we have a complete story. You know, we got um there's some stuff going on with the Emperor. Now let's get the people to Dune. But before we get the people to Dune, Arrakis, desert planet, let's look at them brood for a bit. Let's talk a little bit about the Bene Gesserits, and we have to have a few iconic scenes, sure. But then they get there. We learn a bit about the Fremen. We see a sandworm, and then all heck breaks loose. The end, you know. And
Now,
it's like,
is that more because this is part of a whole and it
yes.
shouldn't really have an end? And
Well,
also, is that part of them trying to like represent sort of real life where sometimes things just happen? Like, there's
uh,
people on both sides of the spectrum of like the ending of Sopranos, where
no,
it's like,
sort of.
well, life just goes on, or like the ending of The Wire, like, well, life
Um,
just goes on.
Sort
So,
of. Here's the thing. If I had had my druthers, um, I would have cut the scene. I would have cut the movie and ended the movie, with them getting into that first thing and flying into the desert, or no, getting picked up, right before Jason Momoa picks them up in Act Three. Okay, when they're taken to the
mhm,
underground thing and they found out that
okay,
it was the Zendikar that was there. I would have cut them there. It would have been like, okay, all heck broke loose. They took down the house. But Paul and his mom got away. Now they're in the desert. What they gonna do? The end. See you next movie. But that last 30
okay,
minutes where they get picked up, they get saved, and then they need to get saved again. I'm like, didn't really need that part. Um,
okay.
and
So
yeah,
you basically open the second movie with them with killing Duncan, them on the run, then
uh,
doing
no,
the
no, no,
death
no, not
battle.
killing Duncan before Duncan died. You know how they got away
Okay.
from the assassination attempts, and then Duncan found them in the Dragonfly plane, and then took them to the underground lair where they were talking about the chick that's like, look, man, I can't say nothing about this.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, before that part of the movie, um, while they're running through the desert and they got their still suits on, before they get picked up, that's where I would have ended the movie. and I would have opened
so
it.
you start the second movie with them getting saved,
Exactly.
chilling for a second,
That's where they killed him.
then Duncan gets killed.
Exactly. Because see,
Tyler Bennett talking about spoiler alerts. Dude, the title is a spoiler alert. Now, shouts to Tyler Bennett. He said, talking about Lord of the Rings, the mission could have been cut short by a giant flying bird. Thank you.
Okay.
All
right. I know we're running long, but I'm gonna put an end to that right now.
Whoa, no. You.
Oh no, this is quick.
I'm gonna handle this real quick.
Okay.
In this respect, Lord of the Rings handles the Superman situation poorly. In every single film, Gandalf's like, "Oh, hold up, let me run to the post office real quick." Oh, hold up. It's like you got so many superficial reasons to not be here. And then at the end of the first one, I'm like, hold up, we had eagles? We had eagles all this time? Why we gotta walk? Right. Like, so Lord of the Rings, I ain't gonna front. I was sitting in the movie theater like, yeah, Gandalf is either just like a douche for no reason, or like no, you gotta learn the hard way. I had to walk, so you gonna have to walk.
No, all right. No, I gotta put an end to this real quick because it's in the books. Okay, it's in the legendary.
I don't care. Right. This is the movie.
No, let me
it
finish.
Looks stupid when you got an airplane.
Again, this is something that Pete Jackson, now good old PJ, should have put in. But to answer that question of why they didn't use the eagles in the Legendarium, this is in the appendix to the Hobbit.
Not the appendix. Come on, my dude.
The Eagles said no. They weren't taking them to Mordor, and here's why. The Eagles, and if you watch the movies or watch the cartoons, you'll see this. The Eagles don't like going anywhere where humans live because humans shoot at them. Gwahir, the eagle that picked up Gandalf, they met because Gwahir was flying over a little city and a dude was like, dude, look at that big old eagle. I'm gonna shoot it. He shot Gwahir in the wing and Gandalf was like, dude, why are you shooting the eagles? They just like me. And then he pulled out the arrow and nursed him back to health. And the king of the eagles, Gwahir, was like, nah, son, every time we go over there, we get shot at.
That's a 60-second, maybe 2-minute scene at most.
You're absolutely right.
It doesn't explain it. And to someone who hasn't read the books and the appendices and all that, it looks stupid. Because I'm like, hold up. All right, so we chilling, right? Yo, y'all need to walk through the most dangerous forest in all forest history. We got birds, though. We got birds. We can just fly over the forest.
Yeah, again,
we can go over this. Why are you making us walk through here?
That's the
now we got to deal with it. I don't want to go through this. Where the birds at?
Again, I'm with you. I get it, and I wish that any of the other stuff.
Because if I was walking with them, I'd be like, dude.
Again, I wish the cartoons. I wish
it would have been a full-on fight with Gandalf after those birds showed up. Because I would have been like, hold up. When were you going to tell us that you had birds?
Yeah, again,
birds big enough. We don't all have to go. All you need is one bird, one person. They fly by, do a drop off in the lava, and we all good.
I know. I get it. I understand. I know where the complaint comes from. And I'm like, man, y'all really need to fix this next time y'all do a thing because again, when you think about it, and you find out that the birds are like, oh wait, do people live there? Yeah, nah, son, I ain't going. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm with that. Because again,
they came through like the cavalry, and I'm like, hold up. You knew you had these birds all this time? You knew we did all this walking. All this walking. It's like, oh, we gotta go walk, but you got a car.
If Tyler Bennett is talking about me, yes, I did love Inception. I'm that guy. But yeah, so but with that's where I really would have ended the movie. And when you watch this again, if you stop it when those two are walking by themselves in the desert after they do the thing in the tent and they dig themselves up through the sand, that's where I would have ended the movie right there. And you'll see that like that is a good ending. That is a good stopping point.
And
It
then
still
if
leads
you
you
do that, that cuts off 30 minutes to add in 30 minutes of all the stuff that you were talking about. You know what I mean?
exactly.
You can get all your politics. Because I would have been interested to see some of the other houses, or like Belly was talking about with like the actual real people. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah, the
actual
regular
real
people that work
people in
there.
the in the towns and the
Spice line.
cities
Yeah.
or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that would shouts to Belly Superb with the super chat. You know what I'm saying? Got
Hey, good on you, mate. Good on you.
what is that? Pounds? The 7 pounds in the house, you
Yep,
know what I'm
7
saying?
pounds.
You know, hit you with a pound, you know what I'm saying? What's up? It says, I'm glad this movie exists, if for nothing but to show young people who are going to watch it for Timothy and Zendaya, or Zendaya? I don't know, a different sort of film language. Yeah,
Okay. That's the
Zendaya,
elephant in the
I
room.
don't want to mess up your name. It's not on purpose. I think it's Aya.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it's
say
Aya.
Aya.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm gonna
It's
say Aya.
Zendaya.
All
It's
right, cool.
Zendaya. But
Gotcha.
real talk on that. That's the elephant in the room. Zendaya. I don't know what the director was thinking. I really don't know what the director was thinking. I know what the movie company was thinking. I know Warner Brothers was like, she's hot. She's a Disney kid.
Yeah.
She's a hot property right now. Let's put her on all the posters and all that stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
just kind of going, okay.
Let's put her on the posters like she's in the movie when she's like, she did like a day of shooting.
If
she
that.
was on the set for a day.
You know, and don't get me wrong, the Chani character is really important in Children of Dune.
She's really important in the second film. But then we're like, look, we need this young, fresh face. She's pretty. We got to put her on the posters. We got, we got to get it out there.
She's the cinematic draw. But this is a story that was written in 1961. Okay, women didn't exactly have a thick role in a lot of stories. However,
unless they were the Benny Jesuit.
Yeah, exactly. But you really want spoilers to the overall of Dune? Like, you really want the spoilers? You know what? I'm gonna give you the spoilers.
Are we at that point where we could talk about spoilers? Have we exhausted? I think we've exhausted this film. We've been out here for an hour. I'll say this about the movie on the geek side.
Okay.
There's a lot of explosions, which I like.
Yeah.
The movie is beautiful.
The action scene,
like I said.
The action scene.
The action is crazy.
Fire.
The scope of those sandworms is incredible. And we haven't even really seen it yet. So like all we've seen is like the teeth or whatever. So we haven't even really seen it yet. The personal journey is one that I'm interested in. The world is one that I'm interested in. And on a geek side, I'm glad to see this movie come back in this form and like sort of win. Like I know there's people that aren't really feeling the movie, but I think the director's job and WB's job was like, okay, bring Dune back. Like just bring it back. Just hit it with enough life for it to resuscitate. Bring it back. Now people are talking about it. Now we can do a second one. Hopefully, we'll see.
Truth be told, I will definitely say that this movie is for people who love Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Okay. All Dune is, all right. It is old-fashioned science fiction, which means it's dense with material, and you gotta watch it. That means put your phone down.
Yeah.
Don't work on any writing assignments, and you ain't gonna be flipping channels. This is something that you have to commit to doing. And with that being the case, though, I will say this. This is the spoiler that I had to give you.
Okay.
There are no good guys in this. There's nobody.
Oh yeah, they've already kind of showed that.
Everybody is messed up. The sympathetic faction, I have to say, are the Fremen. Okay, the Fremen are the sympathetic faction.
Because the Fremen are the ones that are just like, yo, we were just kicking it.
Well, everybody in the story, every single person or character you meet in this whole story, they're all human. They are all from Earth. There were no aliens in Dune. It is 100%
Yeah.
people.
But the Jesuit tried to throw the diss like human, like they threw the word human like it was a diss. I was like, ain't you human, or you're like humanoid at least?
No,
Like
that whole test was, are you a human? Are you an animal? That was like, all right, let's see how far you've gone. And they did put that out there. They did say that during his test, because had he pulled away, she would have stuck him with poison, and poison sucks. Especially
you saw how she was mad though, because she came in that room wanting to kill him, and when he got the resolve, he got the fire in his eyes. She was like, man,
and that's
I guess I won't kill him.
That's kind of one of the things that they briefly touched on. He's not supposed to exist. Okay.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be a daughter. And the Bene Jesuit priesthood, they can decide the gender of the kids they're about to have. But Jessica gave Duke Leto a son because he wanted a son and heir. And though she's just his concubine, she's ride or die for him.
Yeah.
And so seriously, the fact that when she walked in, she was going to try and kill him because they're trying to create this Messiah so that the Messiah can take over the universe and they can take over the Messiah. And he wasn't part of the plan. Early.
Now that's something that you kind of glean from their conversation, and also from the conversation with Paul and his mom. But you're right, they don't really get into it because this is also a movie where you kind of have to like read between the lines, which I guess it makes sense because in real life they're not like, how in TV shows they're like, hey sister, it's fun to hang with you, and it's like nobody calls sisters their sister. They don't do that. They don't.
Right.
They just call each other by their names, and you just figure out their relationship in real life.
So
you do kind of get that from that conversation where it's like, oh, so this whole religious thing is a ruse. This is a trick. This is a hustle you do. Like, I mean, no, the power is real, but it's a hustle. You're not this self-righteous thing you do. It's a hustle. Like, you want power just like everyone else wants power. Like, you're no more benevolent than anyone else.
Of the Messiah. Like, they said, you know what? If we can convince these backwards people in the sand that somebody is coming to save them, then they're going to follow that person, and we going to have that person. Mwahaha, mwahaha. And
I think they shot themselves in the foot with that one, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did.
They shot themselves in the foot with that one.
And they did hard. And that's the whole thing. Herbert Thornton asked the question about the white savior thing. And since we covered it a little while ago, I'm going to reiterate. It comes off on the surface as a white savior thing. But the whole story is about how colonialism is bad, religious zealotry is bad, and a charismatic leader is also bad. And the rest of the books, or at least the first three, because the three after that were deep dives into each house specifically. Okay. The rest of the books are showing if you put the hands of umpteen trillion people in the hands of one person, they gonna screw it up. And so are their kids. And so are their grandkids. It's a bad idea. Dynasty is bad. Monarchy is bad. Colonialism is stupidly bad. And religious zealotry is also stupidly bad. That's the whole theme of Dune as a story, which is why so many people love it. And one thing I gotta say to this movie is they're kind of spreading them seeds, primarily because when we're looking at everything and they talk about the Quetzalcoatl, every time somebody talks to Paul about that, they're like, "You, this fool," and
I remember I was like the quick sack rack? What? the back of rack sack? What? Hold on, what you say? Like, man, whatever he is, he's supposed to be special. I get it.
Yeah.
He's the white guy. He's the one. Let's do it. All right, go ahead. It's like
I
I was
gotta
like,
say
we.
though,
That's the part of the story where it's like, all right, I get it. I know. I realized when this story was written. Let's just do this. Let's just take your
yeah.
medicine so we can watch this movie.
But again, the thing that I gotta say, the baller moment was when the Freeman chick died, and they were like, "You betrayed the Emperor," and she's like, "I got one master,
Yep.
and his name is Jai
Jesus.
Hazu."
No, just wait.
And she starts beating the ground. I'm like, "Yep, that's how to go out right there."
Yeah.
And one of the things that they lampshaded over, and this is a big problem with it, is those worms are attracted to vibration. You know, when you're running on the sand, they can hear you and they go, "Oh, that's food." Okay.
Yeah,
Or at
like,
least
I'm gonna
that's a
eat.
treat other than sand.
A treat.
No, real
than
talk.
sand.
The worms eat sand. I mean, that's just what they do. So yeah, I was like, all right, cool. But yeah, so when she put down that thumper and it was rhythmically thumping, like, hey, there's something here. And the sandworm started coming when she was calling her big desert Uber driver. I was like, all right, we can see that. Okay, well, you know what? When you said that she was going to sacrifice herself, I didn't see that. What I saw her doing was,
okay.
Y'all take that. I got a ride. I'm gonna go wait for my ride. You know, she was just sending them off in an Uber. She didn't go, I'll save you to save my. That was Jason Momoa. That was Duncan. Duncan did his thing, saved the thing. But she was like, nah, man, I'm gone. Oh crap, I got found out. And that did come very suddenly, and you could see the surprise in the actress's eyes. So I gotta say, other than Zendaya and what's his name? The main kid.
Who, Paul? Timothy Chalamet?
Yeah, Chalamet. Chalamet and Zendaya. Those were the weakest performances of the entire movie. At least Skarsgård made me go, all right, let me see what else this dude's up to. All right, I'm with that. I'm with that. Because even though he hardly
picking on the youth, I see.
Huh? Yeah, I mean, even though
picking on the youth.
You know,
they're not youth. Both of those people are full-grown adults. Nah, because they're so young. It's like, bruh, please, like these people.
Yeah, no,
full-grown adults.
Their auto insurance rates have gone down. They are grown-ups, but at least Timothy Chalamet looks small, you know, and I really did like that because Paul McLaughlin as Paul, he was like 25 and he looked about 25, and I'm like, all right, you know what, 25, that's good. But in the books, like Paul is like 13. You know, and Timothy Chalamet did look to be about 13 to 17, so I dig that. It's just that particular performance, and I know he's good, so I gotta lay the blame at the feet of the director. He was very much like Paul was in the book, but that doesn't look good on camera. It doesn't invest you into the character. And this is the dude that we're supposed to be caring about hard, you know, like if something bad happens to Paul, we're supposed to be like, no, you know, but I wasn't feeling that. I was not feeling that.
You. Now, I'll agree on that one. Now, shouts to Herbert Thornton says, I hope Star Wars hasn't spoiled Dune as a concept for millennials. I fear people are sleeping on Foundation for the same reason.
Oh, we can talk about Foundation. We can talk
about that. There might be, you might have a point in there somewhere because it is very, there's parallels. There's a lot of parallels between this and Star Wars. I see, there's, never thought.
Well, it's the sci-fi era. Frank Herbert did Dune.
Yeah.
Isaac Asimov did the Foundation series, and they did them within like 4 or 5 years of each other. So they're both reflective of the 1950s idealism of science. Okay, that's why with Dune, they deal with the physics of interstellar travel, and they deal with the politics that are around because in the 1950s, there's a whole lot of allegory with the Korean War that happens with Dune, and
Okay.
the occupation of Korea. In the same way that Foundation, also another colonial thing, but it focused really hard on math. Like we had a bigger, much bigger appreciation of the academic arts in our science fiction back then, from Asimov to Herbert to Heinlein, who of the three is really my favorite. And like real talk, if you read anything from those guys, you'll get 4 pages of how to write a schematic for a machine, because all of these writers had serious scientific education. I mean, they come from a time when shop was a big part of class, be it metal shop, auto shop, all that stuff. So they really,
because the I will say the way they handled the vehicles in this was crazy too. Like just this sheer design of all of those were like crazy as well.
yeah, I thought it was really it looked like a really good iteration on what Zack Snyder did with Krypton and Man of Steel. You know, and I like that a lot. It was like, you know what, that's a good idea. Now let's take that idea a lot further. And there's a lot of hate going on Man of Steel, and I get it, but Krypton looked great. And
Oh yeah.
you know, that first 10 minutes of the movie where we got Jarrell doing the thing and flying on the dragonfly that was part dragonfly and part dragon, you know, all that looked cool. I'm like, give me that movie. And Dune said, all right, here you go. take a look.
Like, here, take this.
You know, I do appreciate that we did get to spend time on the Atreides homeworld, and the juxtaposition between the lush greenness, like that moment where it was where Paul puts his hand in a puddle of water.
Yeah.
And no words, no nothing, but it gives the impression of, I won't be able to do this for a long time.
Yeah, I'm
like,
not going to be back.
You know, so yeah, that's a really, again, the cinematic language of this movie. Oh my God, it's spot on. Like I said, watch it with the lights out, sitting about 2 feet from the TV, and you'll have that cinematic experience. And you need that cinematic experience, or go see it in the theater on a Tuesday at like noon, when everybody's at school, everybody's
like the first
at work,
showing
and
on
it's
like Saturday morning or something like that. Like
where
somewhere it's like nobody's going to be in there.
Hopefully, people in there. Because yeah, real talk, this a lot like Star Trek the motion picture, Starship Troopers. This movie deserves to see in a big screen because its scope and its scale is great.
I'll actually give that this one. The way how grand it is, I'll give this one that. It's rare I'll give a movie that, but for this one, I will concede it's super grand. It's how should we say grandiose, if you will.
I would say that. The movie
shouts to Nissa. I hope it's Nissa. I hope I ain't screwed up your name. Says what weren't the voices of the Bene Gesserit echoing in his head? And then separate question, weren't the Bene Gesserit sisters trying to manipulate the various houses to breed the savior?
Second question, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's real talks.
As you can see, guys, they trying to take us down right now. They trying to.
I was about to say, like, is that beeping coming from me? Yeah. Second question. Yeah, that's exactly it. The Bene Gesserits are a reflection of the Catholic Church during the Italian Renaissance. So yeah, there's power. They got power, but their power is by controlling politics. And second, the Bene Gesserit voice. No, it was not in Paul's head. It is a technique of speech that allows mind control. Which is why when they were being taken captive and he's like, let my mother go. And she was like, yeah, your tone was a little forced and you got to work on that, because it is a thing. Though there is a lot of the movie that does take place in the heads of the characters. because most of the movie or most of the story takes place within thought bubbles. I mean, you get to see what everybody is thinking all the time. And that's very hard to translate onto film because if you make them speak it, then it's clumsy exposition all the time. And you can only show so much. So this is why this movie is so hard to film.
Word. Well,
I'm cool with voiceover, but you have to be creative with voiceover.
So
yeah.
I know we at time, guys. We've been hanging with y'all for a minute. I know we out here late. If y'all on the East Coast, you about to go to bed. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe y'all staying up late. Maybe I'm about to get y'all party on out there like Urban Meyer. You know what I'm saying?
It is Friday
I don't know. But with that said, I'm gonna throw it over to Solar Gray. Tell them where they can find you.
All right. Well, if you guys aren't already watching on twitch.tv/BID_P right now, because we're dual streaming this, y'all. What's up? Yes. You guys can find me Monday through Friday on twitch.tv/BID_P at 3 p.m. Pacific time. That's 6 o'clock Eastern. So y'all home from work, where we talk about nerd stuff, life, the universe, what tools can we learn from our hobbies that we can apply in real life to help us live a life that's a lot less miserable than a lot of the ones that were doled out. Also, you can find me over on Patreon at patreon.com/BID_P. And there you'll find the archive and a whole bunch of why we're here and what we do.
What up, what up? And of course, NERD, SOUL, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those places, hit that thumbs up. Is that what you're seeing? Hit that thumbs down if you don't, but make sure to share. You can share it and be like, man, this is great. Or you can share and be like, man, this thing sucks. All right. But also subscribe because we're going to hit that 10K soon. All right. Maybe not soon, but it could be soon. You know what I'm saying? You never know. You never know what's going to happen. So we got podcasts, Spotify for music. We got dope MCs and DJs and producers. They're going to bring y'all a whole bunch of cool stuff. Shouts out to the chat. Nissa, if I'm not screwing up your name. Nissa, hope I ain't screwed up. Velly Superb, Tyler Bennett with his crazy self, Jenna James. We had Hitflix come through early, Cinewell Animator. If I missed you, like Shots by Nolan or somebody, if I missed you, it's not on purpose. It's a whole bunch of names. Herbert Thornton's in there. There's a whole bunch of people. Much love to all y'all. We here. All right. So
and a shout out to my chat over here at Twitch. What's going on, everybody in NP City? We got Chasing TV, Clever Little Vixen. There you are. Let's see. Simone de Boudoir, Trevin 201 and 0Fox_8. Thank you guys for showing up. I'm here for y'all. This is why we do it, because, well, how can I put it? Doing all this geek stuff and seeing all this stuff, that's cool, but it's better when you have people to talk about stuff with and ways to share this.
And we got something tomorrow morning.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time, also known as noon Eastern, for Warp Tumblr's Dark Matter, where this man right here and other guests will be playing you got the book? Genesis. Yeah, Esper Genesis with which is a 5th edition tabletop role-playing game. Think Dungeons and Dragons, but in space with all that Arrakis warp speed, Dune stuff heading on down. And if you guys are not familiar with tabletop role-playing games, it's real simple. We are essentially playing pretend through this story, and this is an all person of color cast because I love running games with all the people that are like, no, don't go in there. No, he gonna kill you. That's what you doing going around there, girl? No, look out. And putting them in those scenarios in pretend and all that stuff. So come on down. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Zero Fox. Come on down. twitch.tv/BID_P 9 a.m. tomorrow Pacific Standard Time on noon Eastern. And we're gonna be going. It's a 3-hour cast, but you can see us play and you get to see me like throwing decisions to these people to make and all that jazz. So it's gonna be a time.
It's gonna be fun. Then after that, tomorrow here on YouTube, we got we have a whole bunch of stuff. We got Titans at 2 p.m., the finale.
Uh-huh.
So if you've been watching Titans, whether you like it or not, you know what I'm saying? They have the finale. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about it tomorrow at 2. Then at 7 p.m. tomorrow, we're talking about, that's right, Young Justice. Cause it's not easy living that Martian life.
Bruh.
But with that said, guys, thank you for coming through. Good to hang with y'all, chat, talk about this movie that 84% of y'all liked. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, hey, I'd say, look, based on this sample size, because we have thousands of people up in the chat, you know what I'm saying? People just lurking. People just be lurking, shouts out. I know Zendaya is watching, you know what I'm saying? But, just shouts out, she keeps it on the low. Timothy Chalamet is up in there just lurking. That's how it is, That's how it goes. The star power, they can't be in the chat like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They'll start getting harassed,
Yeah.
Which is why Momo's watching me over here on Twitch, and we're gonna be, doing some bass jamming a little bit later. Not on Twitch, because that would be too advantageous to me. But I want to thank you guys over here watching us and helping me and my good friend NERDSoul over here bust a recap on this movie. This has been fun, and we got to do so more often. So if anybody tells you guys you can't like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, your disability, or your budget, because we all know that the trailer park is only about 1.5 miles from the projects, you tell them to take them cards they're pulling on you and put them back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, saying thank you guys for joining me today and helping us bust a recap. We will see you guys tomorrow morning on Warp Tumblers.
Peace, y'all.
I'm the man, yes sir, that killed the bear barehanded so the people won't forget it. Getting money for our legal to drink. I care what a broke nigga think.
Just like the Pack and Lewis.
Look, everything I do so cold. I can do this, both eyes closed. Too short, I stay on my toes. About that guap boy, anything goes. Help the bear if we outside. Help the bear if we outside. Still tipping, baby, nothing changed. I'm still grinding over here, yeah. Still sliding through my own lane. Shorty, nothing funny over here. Dallas rain everywhere around me. Dream to get money. Made it through the storm, living sunny. Dreams came true, now we eating. I got more dreams to chase, gotta reach them. Trying to put a team together like the Hunger Games. Everybody grinding cause we all came from Hunger Games.